Okay, Andrea, I'm going to go ahead and cover this one because I patently disagree with your assumptions here. Let's get to the beginning.
There seems to be, and I don't know why, I couldn't possibly explain it, but there seems to be a trend happening in the United States of America. Should I say these United States of America, the one and only, well, there's actually 50 United States of America and Canada. Fuck it, let's throw them in there. But
Well, I mean, if you want to get really technical like that, four of them are not states; they're Commonwealth.
there's a trend going on, and the only explanation that I can see, and now I consider myself to be a well-read individual. I read, and yet I have one and only one excuse that I could provide to you all. And needless to say, pressure mounts on Biden to break his silence as, quote, people are freaked out over objects shot from the sky. Lake Huron, folks.
Just Biden, because the last video I covered on this topic yesterday from David Dole, the Rational National, indicated that Justin Trudeau stepped in for the balloon that was in Canadian airspace. Right? So they were completely on board with this.
There's been another unidentified flying object that was shot down over the Great Lakes surrounding Wisconsin, Michigan, and Canada. Folks, I think New York's in there too. They have some Great Lakes. Folks, the only answer, I know you all have been waiting for me to say it.
No, it wasn't New York. I mean, I saw the image that you shared. It was Montana. I mean, the East Coast is not the only area that has bodies of water, you know?
And here it is. The only answer is China. I mean, obviously, right? Like, China is going to fuck us up. I mean, look at, they got balloons, and they got UFOs. I mean, it's gotta be China, right? Just kidding, obviously, it's aliens. I mean, just throwing you for a loop there. It's aliens.
Well, China has historically lied to us on many occasions. And consider the technology that's being used right now. Consider the technology that's being used right now. When we spy, we use satellites. We have far superior technology than China does. Right? We have far superior technology than China does. We're not going to be putting balloons up in the fucking sky.
I'm a believer. I think it's got to be aliens. I mean, what else would it be? What else would it be?
I saw a meme this morning, that let's see if I can find this actually. Maybe I can find this. See if I can find this. It's not going to be in my notifications. It's going to be here. Find this. God damn, they share so many memes in this group, you guys. This is the best meme group on Facebook, for real. Listen to this bullshit. Oh, this stuff is so good. Here we go. How aliens see the world. How aliens see the world, you guys. All right, let's get back to this.
A false flag? Would the United States ever lie us into a war?
That's not what's happening, Andrea.
Is it a distraction to keep everyone not looking at the vinyl chloride ecological disaster in Ohio? Lake Huron is not very far from Ohio. What could it possibly be? Other than aliens? I don't know. 3 airborne objects in North American airspace were shot from the skies by the United States military in the span of 3 days this past weekend at the direction of President Joseph Robinette Biden. The second. Third one's dead. But as Americans confronted an extraordinary series of headlines about these missions, the president has offered no explanation or reassurance to the public over the weekend. You ever meet people that go, weekend?
Weekend?
You ever meet people that, like, those are like British
No.
people. You ever meet British people? I've met a couple. And they go, weekend, you know?
They roll
You ever
their
meet
tongue
these
on the
motherfuckers?
W?
What are your plans for the weekend? No, not funny? All right.
Okay.
The Biden White House heads into the new week facing a slew of questions about the objects shot down by U.S. fighter jets in as the last few days. What? In as the last few days. Thanks a lot, CNN. It's the quality of mainstream media. In as the last few days on Sunday over Lake Huron, on Saturday over northern Canada, and on Friday over Alaska. Those 3 incidents came just days after the U.S. military shot down a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon off the coast of South Carolina. Folks, it's aliens. I don't know why I'm continuing to read this. As of Sunday night, there was no indication from the White House that Biden planned to address the nation about the development's silence that has begun to worry even allies of the president, according to multiple sources.
Oh, really? What allies?
One person familiar with the administration's deliberations said that as of the weekend, U.S. officials were simply still trying to gain an understanding of what exactly those objects are. It's almost like maybe, it would have been nice to have them, to not blow them up. Maybe have, like, drones follow them around, take pictures. No, let's blow them up over a lake so they fall into the water. Folks,
Well,
it's aliens. Or is it?
The thing is, we do have dive teams and stuff, and their first and foremost consideration is going to be whether or not the wreckage could potentially hit anybody or hurt anybody. So it does make sense that they try and blow it up in a place where they have the resources to recover it, but it's not going to start a forest fire. It's not going to kill somebody. They're looking at what is the least potential damage we can do while still getting this out of our airspace, because we do have air traffic. And that was what they initially said in these reports, is that these objects were interfering with just even commercial air traffic, right? So and that might be the intention, Andrea, is that China's trying to interrupt a very important industry of commercial air traffic, right?
I have another article. China says the United States flew high-altitude balloon over its airspace. Folks, it's a doubleheader. Today, it's a doubleheader. So, we have 3 UFOs shot down a week after a Chinese, let me say it one more time, Chinese spy balloon. Now, the answer, obviously, is to nuke China, right? I mean, we got nukes. We don't like China.
I don't think anybody has suggested that we're going to nuke China. I don't think any of these countries, regardless of how they posture, actually want to get into nuclear warfare. I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I think it's highly unlikely because think about it. Like, the U.S. is huge. You'd have to nuke the entire fucking country all at once not to have a retaliatory response. It's and you'd have to get all of our warships that are out on the water, because they're going to have within the military, they're going to have defaults all over the fucking place to respond. It's not like you just nuke DC and therefore we're not going to set off our nukes. I think that's a ridiculous assertion that we would try and engage in World War III, or that any of these countries would, because they all know what the potential consequences could be. And that's another reason we can't do that to Russia either, because like their country is fucking enormous and they have warships on the water too.
China, right? I don't know. What else is there to do? Open a dialogue? No. Just blow up balloons. Go to war, right? But there's a wrinkle. China said on Monday that U.S. high-altitude balloons had flown over its airspace without permission more than 10 times since the beginning of 2022, drawing a swift denial from Washington. So this ultimately goes down. File this in the category of who do you believe more? Who is the more trustworthy source of information? The Chinese government or the United States government? Who do you trust more? China says 10 balloons. The U.S. says 0 balloons. Who do you trust? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. That's a pretty hard question. You know, this is like the Super Bowl, but instead of football or some other stupid shit, it's like a lying competition. You get like all 193 countries, get all their leaderships and governments together, and they do like a tournament, you know, about who's the best liar. I don't know, man. China, U.S., they're both premium liars. So honestly, who knows? On this one, I'm inclined to believe China before I am to believe the United States. Why is that? Well, the United States shot down a balloon.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty fucking stupid, right? So, I don't know, man. It's in the current context.
Okay, Andrea, I'm going to just ask you some logical questions about like what's happening here. So, the eyewitness accounts from the fighter planes, everything, all the intelligence that they've gathered it and at least shared to the public, because I'm sure they've gathered more intelligence than they're letting us know about, right? Have indicated that these objects do not have propulsion systems, right? So they have to completely rely on the jet stream in order to move, right? They have to predict where the jet stream's going to go, and they probably have the ability to increase the temperature of the balloon through their like a remote access, right? Because it sounds like there's nobody actually manning these devices. So they would have to be able to increase the temperature of the balloon so they can go up and down. But they, other than that, they really have no control over where these things are going to fly. So I want you to logically think about if this was really the US and they're saying that we floated them over China, where did we launch them from? Considering that these devices have to travel with the jet stream. Like, think about it. We would have to be basically northeast of China in order to float balloons over them. And I don't think we have a lot of friendly nations over there that would let us do that, right? So, like, really think it through. Like, how would we actually do an operation like that? Large balloon activity with surveillance equipment. How would we actually accomplish that from a landlocked area that needs to use the jet stream to float this over China? So why the hell would you believe China right now?
Willing to believe China over the United States.
I can't even.
But it's a very close call. And you know what? All it takes is to read one more paragraph of information and I might swing to the other side. So let's read.
Okay, let's read.
China's accusation widened a dispute with the United States that began last weekend after the U.S. military shot down what it says was a Chinese spy balloon, prompting top U.S. diplomat Tony Blinken to cancel a trip to Beijing designed to ease tensions. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful?
Okay.
Since last year, the US's high-altitude balloons have undergone more than 10 illegal flights into Chinese airspace without the approval of the relevant Chinese departments.
Wait, why are you doing a British accent? Why are you doing a British accent? Come on now. Come on now. If you're going to go that direction, it should at least be a Chinese accent. Let's go.
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said at a regular briefing in Beijing in response to a question. Wang did not specifically describe the balloons as military or for espionage purposes.
Oh, by the way, like, that chick that committed suicide actually had a better British accent than you do, Andrea. I hate to say it, but she did.
Did not provide further details. Got like a food scrap. Look at this. It's a food scrap I just took out of my mouth. You ever see this shit? Look at that. I was eating food earlier.
Oh my god, you were so high right now. Let's go.
Look at that little fucker. I'm just going to throw it on the floor. Let's keep reading.
Okay.
The White House promptly denied China's accusation, which National Security Council spokeswoman Adrienne Watson dismissed as an effort at damage control. Damage control? Damage control.
Yeah, damage control. Kind of like when they released COVID into the world and then said, oh, no, we don't really have any cases of this. We have it completely under control. Right? Like, they've never lied to the world before, right, Andrea?
I'm going to tell you this, okay? When you are China in this situation, and the United States just shot down a balloon and is now claiming that you're spying on them with balloons.
Uh-huh.
As far as the Chinese position, they might be in need of the least amount of damage control that anyone has ever needed for any reason ever. So the Chinese government does nothing. They're just chilling. I don't know what they're doing. I guess they're dealing with COVID now because they just decided to let COVID kill millions of people there. But
they put out a statement saying it was a weather balloon, the first one, right? So they lied about that because it was not a weather balloon. And then a week later, they sent out more devices using the jet stream to have them float over our airspace because I mean they do have scientists. It's not like they're unintelligent people. They know how to do the mathematics behind putting an object into the sky and where it will travel based on weather predictions, right? So, plus, it was Super Bowl weekend, right? And they know that this is like a big American event, and we have a lot of conspiracy theorists in America that would be freaked out by what they're doing.
So China's just doing their thing. The U.S. shoots a balloon. Where's the damage control? What? Like, I mean, like, if the United States were to come up with another reason,
It's not damage control. It's posturing. It's posturing, just like North Korea whenever a dickhead raises his missiles to show off his dick.
like, or any evidence at all, we still didn't even have any evidence that it's a spy balloon. There's no evidence for that at all. Where?
Oh, and by the way, there was recently a story about, um, is it Kim Jong Un? I always get him and his father's name confused. I think it's Kim Jong Un, right? Very recently, had a military parade in honor of his daughter, right? That he's like presenting one of his children, which, by the way, nobody even knew he had fucking children. He has a daughter that he is presenting to the world as though she will be his successor. So you have to consider that has happened as well. Same region, right?
And why and when and how would China need to perform what is known as damage control? What?
Oh, I can't imagine why they would need. Like, are you for real? Like, they wouldn't need to do damage control. They have all kinds of controversial shit going on all the time. Aren't they in like some major like battle over like Taiwan right now? Of course they've got. Of course they. Come on.
Damage control. I'm going to read that again. The White House promptly denied China's accusation, which National Security Council spokeswoman Adrienne Watson dismissed as an effort at damage control. Damage control. Like, think about it. Mm-hmm. What is damage control? Damage control is like Adult Swim having to fire that one guy who does the voice for the cartoon because he's like a sex pest rapist. That's damage control. And them saying, "Oh, don't worry, we're going to make another season of the show without the guy." That's damage control. Damage control is like a publisher of a game introducing a transgender character named Sir in their wizard game, for diversification. That's damage control. When someone shoots down your balloon and then has a temper tantrum and you've done nothing, you are in no need of damage control. You don't need it.
You're making an assumption there that they've done nothing. You're making an assumption that they've done nothing. And I agree with you that it's not damage control. It's posturing. It's trying to fuck with Americans' minds. It's like mental warfare. There's lots of different types of warfare. I mean, even like back when I worked for Ingram Micro in the late 90s, I learned very quickly from some of my vendors who came from Pakistan that there was monetary warfare going on. That they were able to print our currency and sell it on the streets of Pakistan. I had vendors telling me that when they would go back, because they always would take like a pilgrimage back home for like a month, and they would tell me that they were selling U.S. currency on the streets because they were able to duplicate the processes involved with making our money. Because a lot of these vendors that actually do they were able to figure it out, right? That's partially corporate espionage. because and it's been published on television too. I don't think they've given the entire formula, but they've given enough, right? That, okay, use denim to make the cloth for your dollars. You have certain, but that's why they changed our currency. Remember this? Andrea, you're a lot younger than me, so maybe you don't remember. But they had to change up all of our currency with additional protections because we had so much um, uh, false currency getting circulated out. And from what my vendors were telling me, my customers were telling me, is that they were selling fake currency on the streets in Pakistan. They're constantly looking at ways of warfare, whether it's hacking, or TikTok, getting information in certain ways, or whether it's just trying to mess with our heads, just mental mind games. Have you ever seen the video of Putin flying a dick drone over his competitor, over his opposition candidate? They use all kinds of mental warfare against people.
Look, I'm sorry, I got triggered by that phrase, damage control.
Well, it's the
Any claim that the U.S. government operates surveillance balloons over the People's Republic of China is false.
Yeah, because, like, where would you launch them? How would you launch them?
Well, note real quick this quote.
I mean, okay, let's assume they were launched from the air. Like, it was the Air Force, that they still would have had to get airspace access to actually launch those balloons, because none of the other countries near China have complained about this, right? As far as we know. Like, Russia hasn't said that they've seen balloons. Nothing in that geographical region has said that they have seen those balloons. So the only possible way you could launch them is if you invade enemy airspace and drop them from, like, some of the larger planes in the fleet, and somehow they automatically expand into balloons, because they can't be balloons while they're being carried by the planes. Like, think about it. Think logistically, like, how could you possibly do that? I don't know what that was. I'll look at that in a minute.
Because they kind of fucked up. The U.S. tipped its hand. How? Right? How did the U.S. tip its hand? Do you not understand? Well, let me tell you. The original statement by China was that there were 10 balloons sent by the United States. Now, you'll specifically look, Wang did not specifically describe the balloons as military or for espionage purposes and did not provide further details. So, without any purpose, right, or necessitation, the United States willy-nilly says, we don't have spy balloons. You know what I hear when I hear that? I hear they definitely had spy balloons. I hear that China was like, yo, we saw these 10 balloons. Could be spy balloons, could be weather balloons. And then the U.S. is like, we certainly don't have...
Come on, this is the most ridiculous fucking story ever, when we all have satellites. We all have satellites. There's no fucking reason they would use balloons to spy. China might, because they're they're like 100 years behind us in technology. That's why they wanted to be excluded from environmental, there was that, what was the thing that Trump pulled us out of? China didn't want to be a part of that either. It was like this environmental I can't remember now. It was a French I think they did in French in France, or like Geneva or something, I don't know, where we had this climate agreement that we were going to reduce our carbon and emissions and so on and so forth. China argued that they were so far behind everybody else technologically and with industrial, that they were still going through their industrial revolution and therefore needed a pass. Do you remember the Beijing Olympics? They had to ask all of their, not ask, they demanded that people drive less. Like they had to like say you can only drive on certain days depending on like the last letter or number of your license plate, so that we could clear the air well enough so that we don't look like disgusting assholes when the world comes here to compete in the Olympics. They are far behind everybody in technology.
Spy balloons. Hey, no one said spy balloons. We didn't even say spy balloons when you shot down our fucking weather balloon. Who said spy balloon? The United States did. Why did they say that? For no reason. China didn't accuse them of having spy balloons. So
The size of 3 buses, and that was not the size of the balloon. That was the size of the payload that balloon was carrying. Okay? That's what they were comparing it to, was the payload of what it was carrying, not the balloon itself. That's pretty fucking extensive to be a weather balloon.
So, when they say any claim that the U.S. government operates surveillance balloons over China is false, no one claimed that. At least, at the very minimum, China never claimed that. So why are they offering this information? You know? If anybody needs damage control, it's the United States. It is China that has a high-altitude surveillance balloon program for intelligence collection connected to the People's Liberation Army that it has used to violate the sovereignty of the United States in over 40 countries across 5 continents. These motherfuckers, like, are you serious? It's a weather, like, let's assume spy balloons, schmy balloons. I'm more concerned with Google Maps than I am any sort of spy balloon program anywhere. I think Google Maps is more of a security concern than anything any government could possibly concoct. Now, does that mean I want to ban Google Maps? No, I'm just saying, whatever possible information this dumb fuck spy balloon could do pales in comparison to 15 seconds on Google Maps. So what the fuck's going on here? Let's get a rewind here. Spy balloon in Montana. The United States blows it up. Now, let's recap. I'm sorry. Balloon, weather balloon in Montana. The United States claims it's a spy balloon and blows it up. Where do they blow it up? South Carolina. At the coast in the Atlantic Ocean, as it's leaving the country. Not blow it up as it's entering the airspace. No. Blow it up as it's leaving the country. But okay. Then the U.S. blows up 3 UFOs. We're just going to put a pin in that one. China then claims that the U.S. has sent 10 balloons. Doesn't know what kind of balloons it is. The U.S. then says, we have never done spy balloons, ever!
I don't think that's what they said. They said that's not a technology that they're using right now. Like, it's not like we haven't ever used spy balloons, but like we were using them probably like in the 50s, right? Like, we have much more advanced military technology at this point that we don't need to be doing shit like that. The Chinese, on the other hand, do not have as advanced military technology as we do. And they do have an intent, and so does North Korea, of trying to intimidate people. And historically, they have proven time and time again that that's exactly what they want to do.
Like, from what I understand here, the U.S. is just having a temper tantrum for the sake of having a temper tantrum. Like,
But why would you say that they're having a temper tantrum when they're actually doing very little about it other than shooting the objects down? They're giving very little information to the public. Um, they're investigating the situation. Like, why would you call that a temper tantrum? They're like, why are you sending all this shit into our airspace? Why are you interrupting our commercial flight patterns? So, how is that a temper tantrum, Andrea? I feel like you're making a really bad take on this story right now.
What? Are we really going to initiate World War III over balloons? I mean, I hope
No,
not,
of course
right?
not.
But it's. I am more concerned about the 3 UFOs than I am about the fucking balloons. The balloons.
The UFOs were balloons too, though. They were just smaller. They were smaller and they had more advanced technology. They were still described as cylindrical objects that scrambled the radars of the fighter jets. So they were more advanced than what was originally sent over us.
We're doing this for balloons. Balloons. I'm just going to say it one more time. Balloons. For balloons.
Oh my God.
The Secretary of State is canceling a diplomatic meeting with another country because of a balloon.
Because of hostility.
A balloon. The top government official for diplomacy in the United States, aside from the president, is creating an international diplomatic issue over balloons.
Okay, Andrea, I think I'm done with this video at this point. Like, your take is so bad. It's really so bad. I just don't even know what to